He checked in 17 times. 17 times in 8 months. Same hotel, same floor, different rooms, but always the same floor. The third floor, the quiet one. The one facing the parking garage where you couldn't see the street from the window. I know because I pulled the log myself. I know the exact time of every check-in. I know the name on every reservation. I know the room number, the key card issue time, the checkout time, and because our system tracks everything, every door tap, every mini bar open, every thermostat adjustment, I know that on the night of November 14th, he ordered 2 glasses of Merlot from room service at 9:23 p.m. and checked out at 6:47 the following morning. I was working the front desk that night. I checked him in. I handed him the key. My name is Renee Mallory. I'm 38 years old. I'm the night audit manager at the Beaumont Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky. I have worked there for 11 years. I know that building the way you know your own body. Every system, every camera, every log, every record that the hotel keeps of every person who walks through its doors. My husband walked through those doors 17 times in 8 months. I didn't know his name was on those reservations until the night I was auditing the system and found something that made me stop typing and sit very still for 4 minutes and 17 seconds. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I know because the system timestamps keystrokes. My hand stopped moving at 11:03 p.m. and started again at 11:07 p.m. in between. The specific silence of a woman who has just understood something she cannot ununderstand. 3 months after that night, I walked into my mother-in-law's 30th wedding anniversary party with a laptop, a folder of printed documents, and the calm of someone who has already made every decision that matters. Before I tell you what was on that laptop, please subscribe if you're not already watching from a subscribed account. And drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. Everyone. My name is Renee Mallory. I'm 38, night audit manager, Beaumont Hotel, Louisville, Kentucky. And this is the story of what the hotel log recorded about my own marriage. Stay with me. You're going to want to hear how this ends. Let me take you back to the person I was before I understood what I was living inside. Not the night of the discovery, before. The ordinary version of my life. The one that looked completely fine from the outside and mostly felt fine from the inside, which is exactly how these things survive as long as they do. I worked nights, Thursday through Monday, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The night audit shift is the quietest in the hotel. The lobby empties out, the restaurant closes, the day staff goes home, and it's just you and the system and the particular hush of a building full of sleeping strangers. I loved it, actually. I've always been someone who thinks more clearly when the noise stops. My job stripped down. I balance the books for the day. Every transaction, room charges, restaurant tabs, parking fees, incidentals, reconciled against payment records before the day formally closed at midnight. I ran the security report. I reviewed the camera logs for anything flagged by the system. I handled late check-ins, early departures, the occasional guest who came downstairs at 3 a.m. because they couldn't sleep or had locked themselves out. I was good at it, like 11 years good at it. The kind of good where the general manager had stopped checking my work 3 years in because there was never anything to correct. Numbers don't lie. I have believed that my entire working life. What I understood later was the corollary. Numbers don't lie, but they only tell you what you ask them. For 8 months, I didn't ask. My apartment was on Bardstown Road, South Louisville, second floor of a building with a laundromat below that ran its machines until midnight, and a coffee shop across the street that opened at 6. I had the morning light from the east window and the smell of detergent from below and the sound of the 6 a.m. coffee grinder drifting up when I was just getting home from work. And I had organized my whole life around that specific rhythm. Home by 7, asleep by 8:30, up by 3, at work by 10:30. Marcus, my husband, worked days. Sales manager at a logistics company downtown. We had been married for 6 years, together for 8. We had bought a condo together 4 years ago on a tree-lined street in the Highlands neighborhood. $247,000. 30-year mortgage, both names on the deed. We were, by every outward measure, a functional couple navigating the logistics of opposite schedules. I want to be honest about what our marriage was actually like because I owe you that and I owe myself that. Like, it was not terrible. That's the thing. Nobody tells you about the marriages that fall apart this way, and that they're not usually terrible all the way through. There are good years, and then there are years that are quietly not good. And then there are years where you've both stopped noticing the difference because you've adjusted to the distance the way you adjust to a draft in a room. You stop feeling it. You just put on another layer. Marcus was charming in the way that certain men are charming. Effortlessly, reflexively, without much calculation. He was funny at parties. He remembered names. He held doors and tipped well and called his mother every Sunday, which his mother, Darlene, mentioned frequently to anyone who would listen as evidence of exceptional character. Darlene Winters Mallory. I need to tell you about Darlene. Darlene was 61 years old and had spent those 61 years perfecting the specific performance of a woman who does everything for her family, sacrifices endlessly, loves without limit, and makes certain that everyone within a 3-county radius knows it. She was on 3 church committees. She organized the neighborhood watch and the annual block party and the food drive at Thanksgiving. She was, in the community, beyond reproach. At home, meaning in her orbit, in her influence, she operated differently. Darlene had decided early in Marcus's life that he was exceptional, not in the way parents generally think their children are exceptional, in the specific way that means other people's needs were always slightly less important than his. His schedule came first. His comfort came first. His narrative, whatever story Marcus was currently telling about himself, was the one that got protected. When Marcus and I had our first real argument, 2 years into the marriage, about money and about the way he handled it without discussing it with me, I made the mistake of mentioning it to Darlene. Just once. Just briefly, the way you might mention to your mother-in-law that things had been tense. She looked at me with a warmth that did not reach her eyes and said, "Marcus is under so much pressure, Renee. He carries a lot. You have to understand how much he carries." Not, "How are you doing?" Not, "That sounds hard." Not even acknowledgement that I had said anything at all. He carries a lot. I learned from that exchange not to bring things to Darlene. I learned to carry things myself, which I understand now was exactly what the dynamic required. So the key card appeared in my life the night Marcus and I had our second date. This sounds more romantic than it was. He'd taken me to dinner near the hotel where I was working at the time, a different property, smaller, before I moved to the Beaumont. And afterward, I'd walked him through the lobby because I wanted to show him something about how a hotel functions at night, the way it becomes a completely different place after 10 p.m. I'd grabbed a spare key card from the desk, the demo cards we use for training, not linked to any room, and handed it to him as a joke. "You're officially a guest," I said. He laughed and put it in his wallet. He kept it. He still had it, years later, in his wallet. He showed it to me once, 2 years into the marriage, pulling it out when he was looking for something else. "Still have it," he said. I thought that was sweet. I want you to hold that key card in your mind. It comes back. The money I gave this marriage, this family, this arrangement, I want to walk you through it, not as a balance sheet, but as a sequence of moments, because that's what it was. The first time was small, almost nothing, almost reasonable. Year 2 of the marriage. Marcus's company had a bad quarter. He wasn't panicking. Marcus didn't panic outwardly. But there was a conversation one Sunday morning where he explained, in his calm, logical way, that cash was tight, and could I cover the mortgage this month, just this month, he'd have it sorted by the end of the quarter. I covered the mortgage. I covered it again the following month, and the month after that. The end of the quarter came and went. The mortgage returned to being split. Nobody discussed the 3 months I had covered alone. Year 3, we needed a new car. His lease was up. The timing was bad. His credit had taken a hit from something he described as a billing dispute that had gotten complicated. Could I co-sign? Just until the dispute cleared? I co-signed. The dispute, as far as I could tell, never fully cleared. Year 4, this is where it stops being small. Darlene needed a new roof. Her house, her mortgage, her responsibility. But the insurance claim had been denied, and the roofers needed a deposit before they'd start, and Darlene didn't have it liquid. Marcus came to me. He explained it the way he explained everything, calmly, logically, as though the conclusion had already been reached, and he was just walking me through the math. $14,000. We'd get it back when she refinanced in the spring. It was not spring yet. We gave Darlene the $14,000. The refinancing happened. The $14,000 did not come back. When I mentioned it to Marcus once, carefully, 6 months later, he said his mother was dealing with a lot, and this wasn't the right time. I understand now what the right time meant in that family. It meant never, because the right time would require someone to acknowledge that Renee was owed something, and that acknowledgement was not available. Total, across 6 years of marriage, of money covered and co-signed and lent and forgotten, $43,780. I added it up once, alone, on a Tuesday morning when I couldn't sleep and my brain needed something to count. I stared at the number for a long time. Then I closed the notes app and told myself that's what marriage was, that you absorbed things, that later, when the tight years were over, it would balance out. I was 36 years old, and I still believed the ledger would eventually balance. It wouldn't, but not for the reasons I thought. The breaking point, not the discovery, that came later. The breaking point was 3 weeks before the discovery, on a Wednesday in September, and it had nothing to do with money. I had worked a double shift, covered for a colleague, 16 hours straight, came home at 11 a.m., and went directly to bed. I woke up at 6 p.m. into a dark apartment and a voicemail from Darlene. Not Marcus, Darlene. She'd called my cell phone at 2 p.m. while I was sleeping to tell me that she was having the family over for dinner that Sunday, and that she expected me to bring a dish. Not would I like to come. Not are you free. She expected me to bring a dish. The voicemail was 43 seconds long. In those 43 seconds, she managed to mention 3 times how hard Marcus worked, twice how important family dinners were to her, and once, at the very end, almost as an afterthought, that she hoped I'd be rested enough to join them, since I know your schedule can be unpredictable. My schedule, unpredictable. I had worked 16 hours straight to keep a roof over a building she had stayed in twice, and called lovely. I lay in the dark apartment for a long time. Then I got up. I made coffee. I called Marcus to tell him about the voicemail. He didn't answer. He texted back 40 minutes later. Yeah, I know about Sunday. Can you make that potato thing? Mom loves it. That was it. No acknowledgement of the voicemail. No. I'm sorry she called while you were sleeping. No, are you okay after the double? Just, can you make that potato thing? I stood in my kitchen with my coffee, and I looked at that text for a long time. Something shifted. Not a crack. A recalibration. The particular internal movement of a person whose body understands something before her mind has finished the argument. 3 weeks later, I was auditing the system at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I stopped typing for 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I want to tell you exactly how it felt, not what I thought, what it felt like in my body, because that's the true record. It was a Tuesday in October. The lobby was empty. The restaurant had closed an hour earlier. The only sounds were the HVAC system and the distant elevator and my own keystrokes against the keyboard. I was running the monthly guest frequency report, a routine audit of repeat visitors used primarily for loyalty program management. The system flags any guest who has visited more than 4 times in a 60-day period and prompts you to offer enrollment in the rewards program. The report generated 47 names. I was scanning them in alphabetical order when I reached the M's. Mallory, Marcus D, 6 visits, last 60 days. I stopped typing. I looked at the name, Marcus D. Mallory. His middle name is David. I know his middle name. I know his social security number, his blood type, the specific way he pronounces the word particularly, with a slight emphasis on the second syllable that I have heard 10,000 times in 8 years. I know his name. I sat with it for 4 minutes and 17 seconds, my hands on the keyboard, the HVAC, the elevator somewhere above me. Then I opened the full reservation history. 6 visits in 60 days. I expanded the date range. 90 days, 11 visits. 1 year, 17 visits. 17 visits. The first one, 14 months ago, February 14th. Valentine's Day. Good. I had worked that night. I had texted him at midnight wishing him happy Valentine's Day, and he had texted back a heart emoji and said he was already asleep. Check-in time on February 14th, 9:47 p.m. Checkout, 6:12 a.m. February 15th. I pulled the room service log for that night. 2 glasses of Merlot, ordered at 10:23 p.m. I had been 40 feet away. I did not cry. I want to tell you, I cried, and there was a moment of catharsis. What actually happened was that the room became very sharp. The kind of sharp where you notice things you normally filter out. The flicker in the 3rd monitor on my left. The smell of the cleaning solution the overnight crew had used on the lobby floor. The way the timestamp on the screen read 11:03 p.m. And then when my hands moved again, 11:07 p.m. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I saved the report to my personal drive. I closed the audit window. I finished my shift. I drove home in the gray Louisville morning, and I parked my car, and I sat in the parking garage for 11 minutes. I know, because I looked at the clock when I pulled in, and again when I got out. And then I went upstairs, and I made coffee, and I opened my laptop, and I made a folder. I called it the audit. I spent 9 weeks building the audit. 9 weeks of working my regular shifts, going home at 7 a.m., kissing Marcus good morning when our schedules crossed, making the potato dish for Sunday dinner, sitting at Darlene's table and listening to her tell the story of how Marcus had gotten his company's regional award for the 3rd time, and then going to my laptop at night and adding to the audit with the precision of someone who has spent 11 years ensuring that every number is correct before the day closes. Here is what went into the audit, not as legal terminology, as plain English, because that's what it was. The hotel log, 17 reservations, every one of them with his name, his ID number, his loyalty card number, which he had enrolled in without telling me, which meant he had been planning the frequency before the second visit. Check-in times, checkout times, room numbers, floor, facing direction. The system records everything because liability requires everything to be recorded. The name on 14 of the 17 reservations, Marcus D. Mallory. The name on the other 3, a woman named Cassandra Pyle. Louisville address. I looked her up, not because I needed to know who she was, but because I needed the complete record. She existed. She was real. She had a LinkedIn profile that listed her as a project coordinator at a real estate development firm. He had met her, I calculated later, sometime around month 3 of their arrangement, when the reservations shifted from his name to alternating names. A small, telling evolution that suggested a level of operational planning I found, professionally, almost impressive. The room service log. 14 of the 17 visits included room service charges, 2 glasses of something always, Merlot twice, champagne once, beer the rest. Charge to the room settled on checkout with a card I didn't recognize, a card I later found in his wallet while looking for our insurance card during a mundane Tuesday errand, a Visa with a different bank than our joint account, and an address that was a P.O. box, a second credit card in his name only that I had not known existed. The camera footage. This is the one I want to be specific about because this is the one that closed every possible door of doubt. The Beaumont has 47 cameras. Lobby, elevators, hallways, parking, service entrances. The footage is retained for 90 days before it's overwritten. When I started the audit, I had approximately 60 days of footage available. I pulled the footage for every one of his visits within that window. 6 visits total, the most recent, 60 days. I watched them on my break in the security office, on the monitor we use for reviewing incidents. Camera 4, lobby entrance. Marcus walking in, alone on visits 1 and 3, with Cassandra Pyle on visits 2, 4, 5, and 6. Camera 7, elevator bank. Both of them 4 times, getting into elevator 2 together. Him with his hand on the small of her back, the way you put your hand on someone when the gesture has become habitual. Camera 12 at 3rd floor hallway, walking toward room 314 on visit 2. Room 308 on visit 4. Always the quiet side. Always facing the parking garage. I burned 6 clips onto a USB drive, time-stamped, labeled. I put the USB drive in the inside pocket of my work bag, the one I carried every night, the one nobody else touched. The condo documents, this one I found later, in week 6, and it was the piece that changed the shape of everything. I was going through our shared filing drawer, looking for the car registration. Nothing dramatic. When I found a folder I didn't recognize. Green, labeled property in handwriting, I didn't recognize at first, and then recognized as Darlene's. Inside, a copy of our condo deed, our condo, our $247,000 mortgage, both names, and a document I had never seen. A listing agreement with a real estate agency dated 6 weeks earlier, signed by Marcus Mallory. One signature, his, not mine. I stood at the filing drawer for a long time. I took out my phone. I photographed every page. Then I put the folder back exactly as I found it. I drove to work that night, and I added the photos to the audit. Then I opened a browser and looked up the listing. It was live. Our condo, listed at $267,000. Motivated seller. Photos taken from inside. Our furniture, our kitchen, the east window with the morning light I had organized my whole life around. Listed 6 weeks ago. I had not known. I pulled at the property records, one click, public, anyone can look, any conveyance, any change in ownership, any pending sale gets recorded with Jefferson County. There was a pending sale. Accepted offer, $261,500. Closing, scheduled 6 weeks from the date I was sitting at my work computer looking at it. One signature on the listing agreement, his. A deed requires 2 signatures for a jointly owned property. I had not signed anything. I sat with that for a long time. Then I added it to the audit, and I did the thing that changed everything. I called the title company handling the closing. I told them I was one of the owners of the property at that address. I told them I had not signed any listing agreement or sales contract. I asked them to put the closing on hold pending verification of both owner signatures. The title company representative went quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Ms. Mallory, we received a notarized signature page for both owners last week." "I didn't sign anything," I said. Another silence. "I'll need to flag this file," she said, "and I'd recommend you contact an attorney." I thanked her. I ended the call. I added the timestamp to the audit, 2:47 a.m., Thursday. Then I picked up my phone and called an attorney whose name I had found 3 weeks earlier and saved in my contacts under the name dentist, because I had understood since week 2 that I was going to need one. Here's the honest part, the part about me. I had known something was wrong for longer than 9 weeks. I had known, on some level, for more than a year. Not the specifics. I didn't know about Cassandra Pyle. I didn't know about the condo listing. I didn't know about the second credit card. But I knew the way you know when something in a building isn't right. Not the specific fault, just the feeling of a system that isn't running clean. There had been signs. The nights he wasn't where he said. The Sunday mornings he came home from his early gym smelling like hotel soap. Our hotel supplies, a specific cedar and eucalyptus soap. I know it by smell. I ordered the inventory. But I had filed that under coincidence because the alternative required me to look directly at something I wasn't ready to see. I'd been so careful about not making waves. Not with Marcus. Not with Darlene. Not with the family that had organized itself around the understanding that Renee was capable and self-sufficient and didn't require much maintenance. I taught them to expect my silence. I had believed for 6 years that being easy to live with was the same as being loved. It is not the same thing. I made that choice. Not their fraud. That's on them. But my silence. My decision to file certain information under nothing because looking at it directly would have required me to dismantle something I had spent 6 years building. I can hold that, and I can still know that what they did was wrong. Both are true. They were always both true. Week 7, I met Constance, not a friend, my attorney's paralegal. She was 53, gray-haired, the kind of woman who has processed enough divorce paperwork to have lost her capacity for being shocked. She reviewed the audit in 40 minutes and said nothing except, "Mm-hmm. And when was this? And do you have the original?" When she finished, she looked up. "This is comprehensive," she said. "I audit for a living," I said. She almost smiled. "The signature on the listing agreement," she said. "The notarization is fraudulent. The notary's commission number doesn't match the state registry. Someone forged it." I already knew. I had looked up the commission number in week 5. The closing proceeds, I said, like the $261,500, where were they going? She pulled up the wire transfer instructions from the closing file, an account I didn't recognize. I wrote down the last 4 digits. Later, cross-referencing with the routing number I could see, I matched it to a bank in Louisville, a bank where Darlene Winters Mallory had held an account for 30 years. Not Marcus. Darlene. The closing proceeds of our condo, $261,500, so were being wired to Marcus's mother. I sat with that for a long time. Then I added it to the audit, and I closed my laptop, and I made coffee, and I stood at my east window watching the morning light come in, and I thought about a green folder labeled property in Darlene's handwriting sitting in our filing drawer. And I thought about $14,000 for a roof that was never repaid. And I thought about 43 months of Sunday dinners where she told the story of how much her son carried. He carries a lot. He did. I just didn't know what. Week 9, 3 days before the anniversary party. I did 3 things. First, I filed an emergency motion with the Jefferson County Property Records Office, flagging the pending sale as a fraudulent conveyance. My attorney, Sandra Cho, filed it on a Wednesday morning, and the closing was suspended pending investigation by Thursday afternoon. Second, I moved my direct deposit to the new account I had opened alone at a credit union on Shelbyville Road, 6 miles from our condo, using only my work ID and my own history. Third, I went to my locker at the Beaumont and I took out the key card. The demo key card from our second date, the one Marcus had kept in his wallet for 8 years, the one I had retrieved 2 weeks earlier when I was returning the car registration to the filing drawer and, on an impulse I don't fully understand, slipped into my own pocket. I held it for a moment. A key card that opens no door. That never opened any door. That was just a piece of plastic I had handed to a man I thought I knew as a joke 8 years ago in a hotel lobby. I put it in the audit folder. Then I put on a dress, and I drove to Darlene Winters Mallory's 30th wedding anniversary party. The party was at Darlene's house, the house with the roof I had paid for, on a Saturday evening in January, cold and clear. The kind of Louisville winter night where the sky is very dark and very specific. 41 people. I counted when I arrived because I count things. It is what I do. Neighbors, church friends, Marcus's work colleagues, family from both sides. The house was warm and decorated. Darlene had a talent for this, I'll give her that. The way she built an atmosphere that made everyone feel included, welcome, seen. Everyone except the people she needed to keep manageable. Marcus was already there when I arrived, standing near the fireplace with a drink, laughing at something a colleague had said. He looked up when I walked in. Something moved across his face. Not guilt, not yet. Surprise? A slight recalibration. He had not been certain I would come. I had RSVP'd 3 days ago, cheerfully. Darlene was in the kitchen when I arrived. She came out to greet me with both arms extended. The warmth she deployed like a tool, a genuine feeling, practiced, a perfect 45-degree lean that communicated affection without fully committing to it. Renee, I'm so glad you came. I wouldn't have missed it, I said. She looked at the laptop bag over my shoulder. Working tonight? It's just habit, I said. I found a chair near the dining table where I could see both the room and the front door. I set the bag down. I poured myself a glass of water, and I watched. Marcus came over 20 minutes in. He put his hand on my shoulder, the habitual gesture, the one I had felt 10,000 times. Glad you're here, he said. I know, I said. He looked at me for half a second, too long. Then someone called his name from across the room, and he went. The party found its rhythm. Darlene moved through it like a conductor, touching an arm here, redirecting a conversation there, making sure the story of the evening was the one she was writing. Marcus's Regional Sales Award was mentioned twice in my hearing. The house, our lovely home, 30 years, was mentioned 3 times. Her son's character, always so dependable, always so present. Present. I waited until the dinner plates were being cleared, until the room was full and warm and the evening had settled into the specific ease that comes when people believe nothing unexpected is going to happen. Then I opened the laptop. I pulled up the audit. I walked to where Darlene was standing near the kitchen doorway, talking to her pastor, a man named Reverend Gill, who I'd met 4 times at Sunday dinners, and who radiated the mild authority of a man who had been a moral reference point for 30 years. Darlene, I said, can I show you something? She turned. She saw the laptop. Something shifted in her face, a micro adjustment, quick and controlled. The kind of thing you only catch if you've been watching for it for 9 weeks. Of course, sweetheart, she said. Reverend Gill didn't move. Good, I wanted him there. I turned to the laptop so both of them could see the screen. This is the reservation log from the Beaumont Hotel, I said. The system I audit every night. 17 reservations, 14 months, all the same name. Marcus had crossed the room. I felt him behind me before I heard him. Renee, his voice. Careful, the tone he used when he was managing a situation. This isn't room service logs, I said, scrolling. 2 glasses, 14 visits, Camera footage. Time-stamped. I turned the laptop so the room could see. Not everyone, hi. The people closest. The pastor. Darlene. A couple I recognized as Marcus's work colleagues who'd been standing near the fireplace all evening. Marcus said my name again, louder. The condo, I said. $247,000. Both our names. A listing agreement signed 6 weeks ago with one signature, not mine. The room was very quiet. The notarization on that listing agreement, I said. The commission number, I looked it up. It's not in the state registry. Someone forged it. Darlene said, Renee, you're upset, and I understand. The wire transfer instructions for this closing proceeds, I said. $261,500. Would you like to tell these people whose account they were going to? Silence. Darlene's face. I want to describe Darlene's face in this moment because it was specific, and I have thought about it many times since. It was not the face of someone caught. Not exactly. It was the face of someone who has been certain for a very long time that a particular thing would never happen and has just watched it happen, and whose entire self-presentation is built around certainty, and who therefore has nothing immediately available to replace it with. Just for a second. 1 second. The warmth dropped, and underneath it was something that was not quite fear and not quite sorrow. Something older than both. Something that might have been the face she wore before she learned to perform. Then it closed. This is my home, she said. This is my anniversary. You are embarrassing yourself. The closing was suspended on Thursday, I said. Jefferson County Property Records. Fraudulent conveyance, pending investigation. You'll receive notice at this address. Marcus said, you had no right. It's my name on the deed, I said. I had every right. He looked at the colleagues from work, at Reverend Jill, at the 41 people in various states of understanding what they were watching. This is not what it looks like, he said. Well, have you ever had someone use your name for something you never agreed to? I said. Drop a yes or no in the comments. I want to know if I'm the only one. I closed the laptop. I picked up my bag. I took out the key card, the demo card, the one from our second date, the one he'd kept for 8 years, the one I'd taken back, and I set it on the dining table next to Darlene's anniversary cake. A key that opens no door. I buttoned my coat. I walked to the front door. Marcus said my name once more. The way he said it, Renee. It was the first time in our marriage I had heard something in it that wasn't performance. Something genuine, briefly visible. The way Darlene's face had shown something real for 1 second. Not remorse, not regret. Something more basic than both. The recognition that a thing he had relied on was gone, that the system had stopped running, that the audit was complete. I opened the door. Cold Louisville air. Dark sky, the specific silence of a January night in a neighborhood where people are inside and warm and do not know what just happened in the house on the corner. I walked to my car. I did not look back. I started the engine. I pulled away from the curb. I drove 3 miles south to a diner on Bardstown Road that I knew from 100 post-shift mornings, and I ordered coffee and eggs, and I sat in the window booth, and I watched the street. Nobody followed me. Nobody called for 48 minutes. I know because I looked at my phone when I sat down, and again when it finally rang. Sandra Cho, my attorney, at 11:22 p.m. with an update about the property filing. 48 minutes of silence from a man who had 17 hotel reservations and a forged signature and a mother who had been expecting $261,500 to land in her account the following Friday. 48 minutes. That was the last sound the marriage made. Aww. If you've ever had to walk away from a table that had your name on it but wasn't built for you, drop it in the comments. I read everyone. The condo sold in April, not to the original buyer. That contract was voided when the fraudulent conveyance investigation confirmed that Marcus had presented a forged notarization to the title company. Sandra filed a formal fraud complaint with the Kentucky Attorney General's office in February. The notary whose commission number had been used was a real person, a woman named Grace Toomey who worked at a UPS store in Jefferson Town and had never met Marcus Mallory and had definitely not notarized anything on the date in question. The investigation is still open. I'm not going to tell you how it ends because I don't know yet. What I know is that it's documented, it's filed, and it has other people's names on it now besides mine. The condo was relisted in March, both signatures this time, and sold in April for $263,000. After the mortgage payoff and the split, I received $51,200. $51,200. It went into the account at the credit union on Shelbyville Road, the one Marcus had never known about, the one I had opened in week 3 of the audit. The divorce was filed in February. It took 8 months. Marcus hired an attorney who tried several approaches, all of which ran into the audit, which was thorough in the way that 11 years of night auditing will teach you to be thorough. The final settlement, my half of the condo proceeds, my name removed from the car cosign, which required Marcus to refinance a loan, which, given the state of his credit after the investigation, was not simple. His problem: the $43,780 in marriage contributions, not recovered. I had no documentation clean enough for a clean claim, and Sandra advised me it wasn't worth the fight. I agreed. Some things cost more to pursue than to release. I am still learning which is which. Darlene called me once in March. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was 47 seconds long. She said she hoped I knew what I had done to this family. She said Marcus was devastated. She said that whatever I thought happened, she'd always considered me a daughter. I saved the voicemail to the audit. Then I made a folder called Closed and moved the audit into it. Marcus and I have not spoken since the night at the party, except through attorneys. I don't know what his life looks like now. I know he no longer works at the logistics company. A LinkedIn update I saw in passing, not because I was checking. I know Cassandra Pyle's name is no longer associated with any Beaumont hotel reservation because I still work there and I still run the report. Reverend Gill sent me a card in February. No message, just his name signed at the bottom. I don't know exactly what he meant by it. I think he meant something. I still work the night audit at the Beaumont, Thursday through Monday, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The lobby goes quiet after midnight, and it's just me and the system and the sleeping strangers and the HVAC and the particular clarity that comes when the noise stops. I walk to my car at 7 a.m. in the cold and the dark, and sometimes I sit for a minute before I start the engine. Not for any reason. Just the habit of someone who has learned not to rush past moments that deserve a second. My apartment is on a different street now, not Bardstown Road. Further east, quieter, a building without a laundromat below. I have an east window. The light comes in at 6:30 and hits the floor at an angle that changes with the season. And I have learned the specific color it turns in January, which is gray gold. The color of a morning that doesn't promise warmth, but delivers it anyway. I renewed my lease in November. 12 months, my name, only my name. I signed it with a pen from my own drawer, not a hotel pen, mine, nothing special about it, just mine. Last week I was auditing the system at 11 p.m., routine Thursday, nothing unusual. Licadiane and the guest frequency report flagged a name, not his name, someone else entirely. A woman who had visited the hotel 14 times in 2 months. Always the same room, always early checkout. I noted it in the log. I forwarded it to the loyalty program team with a recommendation that she be enrolled in the rewards program and offered a dedicated room preference. She was a frequent guest. She deserved the recognition. That's all numbers are at the end. A record of what actually happened. Not what people said happened. Not what they needed you to believe. What actually happened. But I've been doing this for 11 years. I know the difference. Ish, the key card is in my desk drawer at home, not the hotel. My desk. The demo card from our second date. The one that opens no door. The one I put on Darlene's anniversary table and then picked up on my way out because I decided in the 2 steps between the table and the door that it was mine. I took it back. It still opens nothing, but it's in my drawer, in my apartment, under my name, in the life I rebuilt from the audit up. And that's enough. That's more than enough. If you made it to the end, wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for staying with Renee. These stories matter because you matter. Subscribe if this one found you when you needed it. The next story is already coming, and it starts with a question nobody thought to ask. They counted on me never checking. They forgot what I do for a living.